So then, you're not quite dead.
You know, making a game in the Dune universe is like trying to herd a group of sandworms. The lore is vast, details endless, many books to consider, and half of the time you're wondering if you're reading an epic sci-fi story or a 500-page manual on spice economics. Past games were mostly real-time strategy, some very good ones, but mostly not extremely big. So I got intrigued when Funcom announced Dune Awakening, excited during the presentation at Gamescom, and my wanting to know more intensified when playing the public beta this weekend.
Find the Fremen. Wake the sleeper. You will know when it is done.
Despite all the sand on Arrakis, Dune Awakening is not just a sandbox as you might expect. You are not there to just build gigantic sandcastles, even if the build system does invite you to do so, and Dune Awakening is a survival game at first glance. You gather material, you refine it, and combine it together to craft new weapons, a stealth suit, or yes, even your base. In addition, you will need to pay your taxes and keep your station power to prevent decay, all while listening to a sitcom on an in-game radio station.
The Harkonnen Network, where every moment is an opportunity to prove your loyalty and strength.
A large sandstorm is approaching.
Strength through loyalty.
But how all of this fits into the already set story of the first book of Dune? We will come to this in a few moments, because there's one big problem we would need to address, and that is Paul.
Silence!
With this survival game and the expertise won from Conan Exiles, Funcom has gone for something more complex and structured. The beta already dropped you into a beautifully crafted version of Arrakis, where the desert feels equally alive and calm, and you're not just there to punch a cactus to gather some material. Every run from A to B usually has a purpose, and mostly more than just building your base and playing Loot Goblin, though stacking loot is still a big problem here for me. You know, I just can't stop. This virtual version of Arrakis promises you to immerse yourself with the Dune universe, and especially this desert planet. Playing your role in this adventure is so much more than the usual survival crafting game. The game comes with a guiding storyline, battles, and some sort of decision making. Are you aligning with the House Atreides or House Harkonnen? Or do you have sympathy for both? No matter if you are Bene Gesserit, a Mentide, or Swordmaster, you'll be writing your story. You will be following the path of the Fremen, climb up high mountains, investigate lost places, and evade the giant sandworm here and there, enriched with cutscenes and even more storytelling. All of this while enjoying the visual scenery. There's much to look at and a lot to climb up to, just to stare into the distance above the clouds if there wasn't the sun slowly roasting you alive. As guessed, sun and water are your survival aspect. Always stay hydrated and stay out of the sun if possible. To gather water, you take the blood from your enemies and purify it to drinkable water. But what would the planet of Arrakis be without some fighting and some PvP? And while the controls for your main PvE moments are very easy and I would say even a blessing, PvP or even PvE fighting might need some attention. Some enemies have shields, just like in the movie, forcing you for a slow attack, if your enemy doesn't counter it. And with some enemies, you would just ask yourself how many headshots the opponent would take before going down. Even random encounters with scavengers and such become kind of annoying at times if you just drive by, and if that wasn't enough, there was the constant threat from the sky just throwing the next group of Sada car at you. Driving on your sandbike from A to B is fun, but does have great inspiration from Cyberpunk 2077. No offense here, the sandbike is fun, but it reacts to every stone on the ground, so if the sandworm doesn't kill me, the sandbike will definitely do at some point. Enjoyers of the Dune lore are allowed to be skeptical when thinking about possible ways to integrate an MMO like Dune Awakening into the existing lore. As said in the beginning, the Dune universe is very complex, and we all know adding something to an existing lore will most likely punch continuity holes into the entire storyline. Due to Paul's fate and the first book, we all know how the story should be set and how everything should end. Funcom used a little trick and tossed the game into a parallel universe, basically a what-if scenario. What if Paul Atreides was never born? If all the events turned out differently? If the betrayal was uncovered it before it was too late? What if the Fremen were gone? This is the Arrakis you will be playing on. It has its own alternative timeline, hopefully safe from unnecessary cameos that would destroy story continuity, but still recognizable names and story drops. And what is more iconic in Dune than the sandworm, the Shai Hulud itself? The huge majestic creature that roams the planet. Even non-Dune enthusiasts would recognize a sandworm if they'd see one. And so this obviously has to be one, when not the one symbol of the entire game. And surprisingly, they integrated the sandworm very well with a majestic and gigantic design, physics and sound effects. Even though the sandworm is obviously not your personal friend, you cannot pet it, and sadly we won't be able to take a ride anytime soon. A warning point from me: expect the worm to be triggered quite often, especially in the early phase of the game. It should calm down when people move onto other zones though. Apart from the noise of the sandworm or sandbike buzzing by, the desert can be very quiet. Sound effects are good, sound design is appealing, but there's mostly not much happening. Funcom decided to integrate some in-game radio stations to break the silence, delivering to you music, reports, and sitcoms. Yes, they have sitcoms.
Another day, another Solari.
Breakfast is ready.
Well, then, so am I.
A nice little addition, and I wonder if we would ever get weather forecasts for Arrakis. To be fair, Funcom still has some work to do with Dune Awakening, especially when it comes to fighting and PvP. They did earn some critique. But does the current quality suffice to build up your home on this desert planet? Survival game and Dune fans will find a pleasant home in Dune Awakening, especially if you're seeking for a PvE adventure and story in the Dune universe. Delivering a solid voice acting for some different kinds of characters, pulling you into the trials and the lore of the game. Dune Awakening feels like a small movie dedicated to us fans. In addition, except for some hiccups, the public beta shaped up quite nicely and already promised quite a solid gaming experience for the available regions. We will be getting more areas to play in, more story, spice harvesting, deep desert fighting, plenty of PvP opportunities. But don't worry, if you're just the PvE kind of person, just stay in the PvE areas you can choose. Personally, I'm very excited to see Arrakis at some point and explore the path of the Fremen even further. As an additional note, you can see Funcom currently cares about the community. They were literally helping me troubleshoot a bunch of issues I had during my first stream of Dune Awakening, something not every studio does. It could finally be a new MMO that could just suck me in, some fresh concepts, and with an interesting and intriguing world. So what about you? Are you going to play it? Or what do you think? Drop your comment and maybe I'll see you in the desert.
God, mount over thy heart, the fire of God set alight. Thine enemies shall fall.